Well, our lead story tonight, the masks are off with Indian COVID cases at a record low. 2 state governments have announced that masks will not be mandatory anymore in these states. This includes Maharashtra and West Bengal. In Maharashtra, the Chief Minister tweeted this is because of the Maharashtra New Year, so it's an occasion, that festival. So basically all COVID restrictions have been removed. West Bengal also has said the same. So Saurabh joins me for more from Mumbai. Now Saurabh, that's a big move, and coming also in Mumbai, where remember how different the situation was just 1 year ago. So what are health authorities saying? What are doctors saying about this move, and what do people say from where you are?
Well, one of the key things to note is that the government is advising people to continue wearing masks and practice social distancing, but the fines, the penalties, for example, earlier if you weren't wearing a mask, you wouldn't be allowed to board a bus or you wouldn't be allowed to board a train. Those things, the penalizing factor in wearing masks is now going to end from Gudi Padwa, the Maharashtra New Year. The Chief Minister's office tweeted to say that from Gudi Padwa, all COVID restrictions are being lifted. I am at Shivaji Park. In the evening, a lot of people come here for evening walks. Over the last 2 years, we've been coming here to check on crowds, mask mandates. And a lot of people had complained earlier that, morning walks and evening walks, it's very difficult to keep masks on. There were marshals who would penalize people for, not wearing masks. But that over the last few days seems to have completely come down. But I have some senior citizens with me. सर, आपसे जानना चाहेंगे, मास्क गुड़ी पाड़वा के दिन से पहनना ज़रूरी, मैंडेट, मतलब आपको फाइन नहीं देना होगा, लेकिन सरकार का कहना है कि आप पहने रहिए. आपका क्या राय है?
होना चाहिए. मैंडेटरी नहीं हुआ तो अच्छा है, और मैंडेटरी होना भी नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि ऐसा प्रूव नहीं हो रहा है कि मास्क लगाने के बाद कुछ ये कोविड नहीं होता है, और मास्क अगर नहीं पहना तो कोविड होता है. ये प्रूव नहीं हुआ है. ये ट्रायल एरर पे उन्होंने डिसाइड किया है. ये दुनिया का जो उसूल है उसी हिसाब से हम लोग चल रहे हैं, लेकिन इंडिया में क्या चलता है और दुनिया में क्या चलता है अलग अलग.
सर, आप योर व्यूज़ ऑन मास्क, आपका क्या मानना है?
मास्क आप ज़बरदस्ती मत कीजिए. जो भी पब्लिक का जो ये रहेगा, अगर उनको लगता है कि बाबा यहाँ पे भीड़ भाड़ है, मुझे मास्क पहनना चाहिए, वो पहन लेंगे. अगर कोई इधर वॉक के लिए आता है सुबह शाम, जब भी नेसेसरी नहीं है, तो उनको ज़बरदस्ती करना मुझे तो अच्छा नहीं, बराबर नहीं.
देख सकता हूँ आप वॉक के लिए आए हैं, और जैसे आप देख सकते हैं, पीपल हु आर वॉकिंग, आई विल शो यू इवनिंग वॉकर्स. इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर इवनिंग वॉकर्स टू वेयर मास्क. सो मोस्ट ऑफ द इवनिंग वॉकर्स aren't wearing masks. If I can ask you very quickly, the government has said masks are no longer mandatory from Gudi Padwa. You're an evening walker, I presume you've come to walk your dog. Was it difficult to walk with masks on?
Yeah, it was difficult, but you know how the situation was. So while walking, I was not wearing mask, or while running, but when I was in the crowds, I was wearing the mask.
And you'll continue doing that?
I'll keep it as an option. Maybe if I go on a railway station or an airport where there's a lot of crowd, I would say that I would wear the mask. But in a place where it's open air, I won't try wearing mask. Yeah.
So that's the sense we're getting from Shivaji Park, a prominent, promenade in Mumbai where people walk, again, evening walks, morning walks, and people are saying, while it's not mandatory, that's a good thing. They'll wear it according to the situation.
Right. Thanks so much, Saurabh. So Maharashtra and West Bengal have both said masks won't be mandatory. Even the Delhi government is reviewing fines, and advisories is all very well, but we all know how many people actually listen to advisories unless there's a fine. So let's see how that actually plays out. Let's see what doctors have to say, because after all, they're the one who will be treating people if they fall sick. But let's see how that goes. The United Kingdom and many other countries have already said masks are not mandatory. Meanwhile, in an extremely significant move, the government has today decided to withdraw the controversial Armed Forces Special Powers Act from many districts in the Northeast, mainly in Assam, Nagaland and Manipur. Remember, this comes after the renewed opposition to AFSPA after last year's Nagaland firing, in which 14 young men were killed in a botched army operation. Political parties had made this a major election plank, including in recent elections in Manipur. So today, the Home Minister announced major lifting of this Armed Forces Special Powers Act in many districts.
In a single tweet by the Home Minister, a major announcement. The footprint of the controversial Armed Forces Special Powers Act reduced in 3 northeastern states. A closer look reveals that this is a partial withdrawal. In Assam, AFSPA has been withdrawn in 23 districts. In Nagaland, it has been withdrawn in areas under 15 police stations in 7 districts. In Manipur, AFSPA has been withdrawn in areas under 15 police stations of 6 districts. The Home Minister pitched the rollback as a result of the improved security situation.
It's a historic moment for the people of Northeastern region. Lots of efforts have been put in by Prime Minister Modi ji and Home Minister Amit Shah ji to bring peace and tranquility all along Northeastern region. This shows that the era of peace and development has arrived in Northeastern region in true sense.
But the move is seen as linked to the massive backlash after the army shot and killed 14 men in Nagaland last year in a botched operation. Regardless, chief ministers in the Northeast welcomed the move.
This is one of the most bold initiative. It is one of the important initiative taken by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah, because it will send a signal to investor.
Others say the act should have been withdrawn a long time ago.
We demand to repeal totally this AFSA. This is anti-people, anti-democratic law, black law, so this should be definitely withdrawn.
This move by the centre is expected to create a positive momentum for the BJP in the region and also help pave way for fast-tracking the Naga peace talks as well as peace parleys with Ulfa. But the big question is, will the armed forces, who had prosecution immunity due to AFSPA in alleged extrajudicial killings, be now brought to justice? With Ratnadeep Chaudhary in Guwahati, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Also, just other breaking news coming in tonight, Nidhi, and that's really on Russia, with Russia's president giving a deadline of tomorrow, saying that Russia will stop supplying gas to Europe and to any country actually if not paid in rubles. This as the Russian foreign minister has arrived in India tonight. So we're already getting reactions coming in from Europe saying we're going to keep paying in euros or dollars. How much is this going to be an issue, especially with Europe's gas supply from Russia?
Well, Europe actually, more than the US or even India or other parts of the world, is very heavily dependent on Russian oil. In fact, one statistic that we have is that about 60% of Russia's oil exports go to Europe. And so you have countries like Germany, for example, that are in particular, are very heavily dependent on Russian gas and therefore have been reluctant or had been reluctant for the longest time to have any kind of sanctions that would affect Russia's energy sector. In fact, Germany's leadership had said that, look, we need to find alternative sources of energy. We just can't do it overnight. So this is going to be a big problem, especially for European countries which are already struggling with high gas prices and all the rest of it. To some extent, it's hurt gas prices in the US, which is why the US was then looking towards Venezuela and other sources of oil. In India, it's only about 1% of our oil imports that really come from Russia. But with India, of course, it's a completely different story on how this is playing out.
Right, Nidhi, thanks so much. Well, meanwhile, of course, in Sri Lanka, the economic crisis also continues. In fact, street lights are being cut tonight to save power. Today, Tamil Nadu's chief minister was in New Delhi. DMK office will be inaugurated in Delhi tomorrow. But he met with the prime minister, and among the various issues discussed, including keeping Tamil Nadu out of the national medical entrance exam, was the economic condition in Sri Lanka and the impact on Tamils there and the refugees coming to Tamil Nadu. MK Stalin has asked for humanitarian relief from India of medicines and food as well. So Stalin meeting Prime Minister Modi there. But of course, it's also an important time for opposition unity. So a number of opposition leaders invited for that inauguration of the DMK office tomorrow in Delhi. There's Sonia Gandhi dropping in to meet Stalin at Parliament today.
We'll meet on Saturday. I just came to say, we'll meet on Saturday.
Well, some other breaking news coming in this evening. Akhilesh Yadav's reunion with his earlier estranged uncle Shivpal Yadav is in trouble once again. Remember, the campaign jointly together in the recent UP Assembly elections. But now, Shivpal Yadav met the UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath yesterday, and a very strong speculation that he's actually going to join the BJP. Let's just hear what Shivpal Yadav said. He refuses to confirm or deny. But remember, this comes just months after Mulayam Singh Yadav's daughter-in-law, Padma Yadav, joined the BJP before the state election. So now for Mulayam Singh Yadav, the patriarch, both his brother and daughter-in-law in the BJP, that's a real possibility.
सारे समर्थक इस वक्त आपकी ओर नजरें लगाए हुए हैं, क्या संदेश देना चाहेंगे हमारे जरिए?
मुझे कुछ नहीं कहना है, चाहे परेशान हो, जब हम प्रेस बुला लेंगे तब बोल देंगे।
कल मुख्यमंत्री जी साथ हुई उसमें
शिष्टाचार भेंट है।
कहा जा रहा है कि आप राज्यसभा जा रहे हैं, इसमें सच्चाई है या नहीं?
अभी हम कुछ बता ही नहीं सकते, बोल ही नहीं सकते। जब बोलेंगे तब आपको बुला लेंगे।
सर, दिल्ली में क्या अमित शाह से मुला
करवा सकते हो? करवा सकते हो? क्यों ऐसी बातें पूछ रहे हैं?
So, Saurabh, what's the latest on that? Is that deal almost done with Akhilesh's uncle and the BJP? And some reports saying that perhaps the BJP wants him to contest from the assembly seat, which Akhilesh Yadav, from the MP seat, which Akhilesh Yadav has just vacated to stay in the assembly seat.
Absolutely, Sonia. There is a very strong speculation in Lucknow. In fact, according to my sources close to Shivpal Yadav is almost close to conclude the deal with BJP. In fact, BJP is asking him to contest from Azamgarh, and when he leaves Jaswant Nagar assembly and when he'll switch the sides, so then Shivpal Yadav has requested BJP to allow Shivpal Yadav's son Aditya Yadav to contest from Jaswant Nagar assembly seat, and he will contest from Azamgarh Lok Sabha constituency. That is a strong speculation, and that is what my sources are telling me. And I have spoken with Akhilesh Yadav as well, and I have asked Akhilesh Yadav that is he going to convince Shivpal Yadav to stay back with him. Akhilesh Yadav has said that he's not going to convince Shivpal Yadav. If Shivpal Yadav wants to go to BJP, he's free to go. In fact, he told me that on 24th, Shivpal Yadav had met Akhilesh Yadav, and Shivpal Yadav was asking Akhilesh Yadav to give him a bigger role in Samajwadi Party, where Akhilesh Yadav clearly refused. Akhilesh Yadav told him that Shivpal Yadav has his own political party, Pragatishil Samajwadi Party. If he wants to work for the state, he can with his own party, and Samajwadi Party will support his political party, because as he's supporting Rajbhar's party and he's supporting Mahandal as well. But Shivpal Yadav did not take that offer. Shivpal Yadav had met Adityanath, Yogi Adityanath yesterday. That meeting lasted for 30 minutes. Shivpal Yadav is mum about that meeting. So let's just see how that actually pans out.
Right, Saurabh. Thanks so much. So, very important headline points there. You're saying that the BJP and Shivpal Yadav alliance almost final, and Shivpal Yadav likely to contest the MP seat, which Akhilesh Yadav just vacated to be the leader of opposition in the UP Assembly. Meanwhile, Mission Karnataka, it's all about elections. Now, the Karnataka elections expected next year, but a huge buzz that they could be advanced. And Congress leader Rahul Gandhi today at the politically influential Siddhaganga Mutt as part of the 115th birth anniversary celebrations of the Mutt's late seer. Now, Home Minister Amit Shah also arriving here, so that's a clear indication how significant this Mutt is politically. But this, however, comes as there's a huge flashpoint in Karnataka, from the issue of the hijab to now the issue of halal meat, which a BJP leader called economic jihad. Today, the Chief Minister said he's appealing for peace regarding social issues.
ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಇಶ್ಯೂಗಳು ಚರ್ಚೆಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಒಂದು ಈ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಮವಸ್ತ್ರ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಈಗ ಇತ್ಯರ್ಥ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟಿನ ಜಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಂದು. ಇನ್ನು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ವಿಷಯಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟವರಿಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು, ತಮ್ಮ ತಮ್ಮ ನಂಬಿಕೆಗಳ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಇಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಬದುಕು ನಡೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕ ವಲಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಶಾಂತಿ ಸುವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಕಾಪಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಹಕಾರ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಶಾಂತಿಗೆ ಹೆಸರಾಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಪ್ರಗತಿಗೆ ಹೆಸರಾಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗದಂತೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸಂಯಮವನ್ನು ತಾಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಶಾಂತಿ ಸುವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಹಲವಾರು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕವಾಗಿ ಉದ್ಭವ ಆದಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಬಗೆಹರಿಸಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ
Biocon Chief Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw speaking up against what she says is a growing communal atmosphere in Karnataka. She has urged Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai to resolve the growing religious divide in the state, warning that if the tech sector becomes communal, it will destroy India's global leadership in it. Kiran Shaw is the first big corporate leader to publicly voice concerns over what she calls communal exclusion, days after the Karnataka government cited an old rule barring non-Hindus from doing business on temple premises. The BJP has accused her of expressing a politically colored opinion. Meanwhile, a special campaign against halal meat in Karnataka. Through these pamphlets, right-wing Hindu organizations are appealing to Hindus not to buy halal meat from Muslim shops. And ruling BJP scholars and some ministers in the state are supporting it.
ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಜಿಯಾದ್ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರ ಹತ್ರ ಮುಸಲ್ಮಾನರು ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ಮಾಡಬಾರದು ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಹಲಾಲ್ ಅನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಜಿಹಾದ್ ತರ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇರಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Former Chief Minister Kumaraswamy has attacked Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai.
ಈ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಮಾನ ಮರ್ಯಾದೆ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಬೊಮ್ಮಾಯಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಗಂಡುಸ್ತನ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಇದು ತಡಿಲಾರದೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪದ, ಆ ಪದ ನಾನು ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು. ಇಷ್ಟು ದಿವಸದಿಂದ ಈ ಥರ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ, ನಮಗೇನೋ ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮೌನವಾಗಿದ್ದರೆ.
ಯಾರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಂಘಟನೆಗಳು ಹಲವಾರು ಅಭಿಯಾನಗಳು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಸೊ ವಿ ನೋ ವಾಟ್ ಟು ರೆಸ್ಪಾಂಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ಟು ನಾಟ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾಂಡ್. ಎದಕ್ಕೆ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಎದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ.
NDTV Bureau Report.
Well, the other big headline tonight is prices of petrol and diesel up for the 9th time today. That's total increase of 6 rupees 40 paise per litre in the last 10 days. Petrol well over a century in many parts of India. Diesel also now nearly at that mark. So the Congress holding protests today across India on this huge rise, and in Delhi garlanding gas cylinders.
Cylinders garlanded at the Congress protest, which started today and will continue for a week to highlight the rising fuel prices. Party MPs protested with empty cylinders and motorcycles near the parliament. The party plans to hit the streets in every district, trying to corner the BJP government over the increasing fuel prices. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, who led the protest before leaving for Karnataka, said,
"We can see that petrol and diesel prices are climbing rapidly. Government is making thousands and thousands of crores from this. Government has to stop doing this. This is hurting the poorest people in the country and it's hurting the middle class."
The BJP hit back, questioning the Congress over inflation and their tenure.
जब इनके समय में महंगाई थी तो अंदरूनी कारण थे, लूट थी, लूट को 100% छूट थी, और नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने इन पिछले 2 सालों के संकट के समय में दुनिया में जो आर्थिक तंगी और मंदी के बावजूद भी भारत को उससे प्रभावित होने से बचाया. इनको जो है वो तर्कों की इनके पास कंगाली हो गई है.
Congress MPs raised the fuel price issue in the parliament as well, where the members of the party stormed the well of the Lok Sabha. Members of the Youth Congress in Chandigarh protested over the same issue.
घर का देखो बजट बिल्कुल हिल गया, बिल्कुल हाउसवाइफ के लिए तो वेरी डिफिकल्ट.
गवर्नमेंट को देखना चाहिए, पंजाब सरकार जो हरियाणा सरकार है, वोटों से पहले इन्होंने रेट कम कर दिया था, अब ज़्यादा कर दिया. ये जितनी मीडियम क्लास है ऊपर जोर पड़ता है.
Accusing the BJP government of betraying people by increasing fuel prices 9 times in 10 days, the Congress has asked its state units to protest in their respective district headquarters between April 2nd to 4th. It has also asked for dharnas at the state headquarters on April 7th.
Across India, from 31st of March, we are having 3 stages of protest. One, 4th and 7th, that it will be in the district and block level, and the state level it will be on 7th. It will be again 7th to 9th. There will be a state level protest in every state, and we will raise the people's pain, whatever it may come.
In New Delhi with Arvind Kumar, Priyanshi Sharma for NDTV.
In an important judgment, the Supreme Court has cancelled Tamil Nadu's announcement of a quota in jobs and education for the politically influential Vaniyar community. The Supreme Court said the quota was unconstitutional and a violation of the right to equality. They said that caste cannot be the only basis for reservations in jobs and education.